It's easy.
I'll give this something from my life.
So, I believe it was, this is question number one, I believe it was
My
when
mother
you
passed.
said, how lucky to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Our lives are.
I always, when people say how committed people are, you can tell when people are committed.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. And, people make an extra effort. And I was sitting there prayerfully thinking, what can I do personally? What can I do to kind of say, you know what, this should be rewarded in some fashion? And I was thinking and praying and thinking some more and praying some more. I'm thinking, and then the Lord gave me an idea. I don't know about you. I have trouble articulating. And I was going to start speaking. By the way, if I start speaking another language, I'm speaking Spanish. And I just came from teaching another place in Spanish, so I get it, my brain starts going crazy. But I was thinking to myself, I really struggle in the area of praying out loud. Anybody when you pray out loud, it doesn't come easily. It really is a little, rough. And so I have made it part of my thing that when I see prayers that I think, oh, wow, that's expressed so beautifully. That's a good prayer. I want to pray that into my spirit. I want this to be part of who I am. And so I've been collecting those, and then I also meditate on passages and then write prayers. I get a chance to process them and write them. And so if you like, and I'm surely not pushing this on you, but if you would like, I'm going to make a copy of my collection to give to you. We got two people that are excited. The other people, not so much. So okay, three people. We got three people. Nobody, just the guys looking at like, prayer? What's prayer? We don't pray. No, I'm not going to go there. So I'm just letting you know. Now, please don't do this. Don't do this. You see me next week. Where is it? No. Okay, these are. So I'm going to work on it. I promise that before this is over, I will have copies of that. And the reason I'm saying, because Dawn, my wife. Honey, did you edit this? So it's now when I'm going to say that, and she's going to say, you better pass that over to me. I want to see it well. But I was praying, was preparing for tonight, and the Lord just said, Fred, I want you to go a different way. And I always want to be sensitive to the leading of the Spirit. I couldn't help but remember that Monday was Martin Luther King. And so, as I was just praying, the Lord said, you really should think about piggybacking on this. And I just thought, wow. So, you're going to say, wait a minute, this is not what the questions were on. This is not where, I'm telling you right now, don't panic. If you need therapy, if you need a helpline to call someone to process through that, we have people available. So you can't say, what happened to him? No, I'm saying we're going in a different direction. So I just want you to bear with me. I think it'll be a blessing to you. So we're kind of going to get started. So here we go. It's on the screen. It's the seventh beatitude. We've jumped. But I want you to be, if you have your Bibles, you may want to get them out because you may want to make a couple of little notes. I'm jumping to the seventh beatitude, but I want to say this because this is extremely important. I hope that you don't think somehow that these beatitudes work independently of one another. That would be a wrong thinking. No, these are a culmination. We're moving somewhere. We want to embrace the first one. We definitely want to embrace the second one. And by the time we get to the seventh one, you need to understand that this is building toward that seventh one. It's not as if we just picked this one out like we would rip out a text from somewhere. So look at what it says there. It says, the seventh beatitude, now these have been so infused, I like this, by Christ's peace and the character of the kingdom. And by the way, I can see we probably need to do some adjusting there, but I don't know if we can change that, but it must be this versus, I don't know. Huh? Can you? Oh, there you go. Okay. Can we do that? Wow. Bless your heart. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would do it, but the last time I was out there, I fell. As a matter of fact, then they called the pastor a long distance and said, Fred just went off the platform, he fell. Please, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is, now, by the way, this is important. Christ's peace and the territory of the kingdom are peacemakers. I want you, we're going to cover this, but I want to be very transparent and to say, how many of us have tried to be peaceable? I mean, how's that work for you? And usually it doesn't work well. I want to begin by just sharing this very quickly with you. Let me begin with a question. Is it possible, I'm just wondering out loud, is it possible to deeply love Christ and deeply love possibly your wife, two people you love was beyond your imagination? And is it possible to have that love for Christ and love that to your spouse or a loved one and be in what? An argument, a verbal argument, an intense verbal argument? The answer to that question is what?
Yes.
Of course it's a yes. I remember distinctly, we had just come back from the honeymoon. We were sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, my wife begins talking to me in such a way, I'm like, this woman is crazy. I married a crazy person. And I was thinking that to myself because she kept shouting, and I kept thinking, oh my God. And then she got closer into my face, and I'm like, oh, she definitely doesn't know what she's doing. Screaming and then getting in. I said, does she know that I was trained as a Marine to kill people? I was just thinking to myself, I was just, this woman is crazy. And I could tell that if one of us didn't walk away, it was going to end poorly. So I gently said, honey, we need to stop. This is not good. And I was pretty much of a young believer. So I was so worked up. Dare I say it? I was so jazzed up. I said, I'm going to do a protest. Recently married, protest. And so she's getting ready for bed, and I was getting ready for bed, and I said, I'm not going to be sleeping with you tonight. She goes, well, I'm sorry, what'd you say? I said, I couldn't find the emotion to express it. I said, honey, I'm so worked up about what just happened. I just don't feel comfortable sleeping next to you tonight. And of course, we only had a little apartment. There was no place to go. And she's probably wondering, well, where is he going? Where is he going? You know, where's he going to sleep? And I remember we had this little sofa. It couldn't have been very long, and surely wasn't very comfortable. I mean, we didn't have anything. And so I just grabbed my little pillow, I grabbed my blanket, and I'm laying in this little, trying to find, you know how it is, I don't know if you, don't nod, because then I know you had the same experience. But, you know, here I am trying to find a kind of a comfortable place and fall asleep. And all of a sudden, in the dark, there's a little glimmer of a light. My wife is coming with a blanket. I'm thinking, there's no room with the sofa. I was thinking, man, where is she? And she put the blanket right next to the sofa on the floor. And she said to me, very humbly, she said, we should never not sleep together. And of course, I wasn't much of a Christian. She put a later verse on me, goes, you should not. She didn't do that. She just grabbed the blanket and laid there. And I was just, you got to know Latinos, man. I was like, I can't have my wife sleeping on the floor. I said, why don't you sleep on the sofa and I'll sleep on the floor? And of course, you know how silly that is. How many know what I'm talking about? I mean, when you're out of control and you're frustrated and you're angry, and then my wife, with a sense of reason, said, well, honey, maybe we should just go back to bed. And I said, I think that's a good idea. Where am I going? Yes, it's possible. And it's before, very honest, we're saying, this happens, we're not peacemakers. And so I want to really unpackage this for all of us and for me again. So hopefully this will be a blessing to you in the teaching. Notice what it says here, a possible translation, for this. It says, oh, the bliss of those who, here comes, look at how powerful this is, of those who produce right relationships between man and man, and they are doing a godlike work. I want to tell you, you can't do this in the flesh. I mean, I know because I've tried to do it in the flesh. Reconcile things. And I want to suggest to you that here, when we are able to accomplish right relationships, it's because of the infusing power of God himself. That's why it's a God-like work. This is not about boundaries. This is not about, let's negotiate. No, this is about God moving in such a way in your life. And we're going to talk more about this as we move along. This beatitude does not hold out a blessing to the peaceful, powerful. That's not where the blessing. In other words, when we say blessing, we're talking about God's favor. Do we want God's favor? Yes. It only goes to certain people. It says there, this beatitude does not hold out a blessing to the peaceful, nor to those who yearn for peace. That's not where God's favor comes from. Notice what it says. But to those that are peacemakers. Then there's a difference. It's not that I'm trying. If you want God's favor, you're going to need God to be working on relationships. And so I think that, to me, was a breakthrough. We're going to move along pretty quickly. One day when we must come to see that peace is not merely the distant goal that we seek, but it is by that means which we arrive at a goal. We must pursue peaceful end through peaceful means. I think that's powerful. I mean, one of the reasons we have a national holiday. By a minister. I don't know if you even think about this at all. I have. It's amazing to me on a national level, the one person, well, I'm not saying one person, but the person that is recognized, just the minister of the gospel. He so internalized this truth that people nationally began to recognize there's something unique about this individual. Yes, he's a Christian. He's a follower of Christ, and he is empowered by the very universe that keeps ticking away. And I think this is powerful. Notice what it says at the very end. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. God's favor will not be on us unless we do this. Now, this is... I think this is worthy of copy. Peace with God. You got to be asking yourself, I tend to be kind of like one of those, what's step number one? Well, you can't exhibit peace unless you have peace with God first. Now, I don't know about you. What does that mean? Well, let me be unfiltered. This, what it means is if you're not a Christian, you have no hope to be peaceful. Because the Bible makes it very clear that we have hostility toward God if you're not a Christian. So first and foremost, we need to somehow reconcile ourselves with the God of the universe if we have any hopes of having peace in our lives. And that doesn't mean, I became a Christian. No, it means more than that. It means that by day, the Spirit of God begins talking to me and nudging me and says, Fred, that tone when you spoke to your wife, that tone and attitude when you... And so it has to be an ongoing thing before God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then we try to reconcile with people. So peace with God is critical. It's foundational. And it needs to be daily. Our basic problem is not a lack of peace among people. It is a lack of peace with God. I think that's good. And then, of course, the next step is peace what? Peace of God. You can't have it unless you've got God. And then it goes on to say this. People who do not, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. God cannot have the peace of God. People are now with and having this relationship in John 12:27. And then, of course, the last part is the fruit of the Spirit. Of course, we know is what? One of them is peace. Now, I always like it when people tell me, I'm a Christian. Really? And I don't get too excited when people tell me that. I get more excited when I see the fruit of the Spirit in that person. Then I'm thinking, oh, wow, this person is being guided and directed by the Spirit. Now, I can tell you there's a lot of people running around with the name, but don't have any fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace. So I want to suggest to you, if you have problems with people and relationships, you may want to think, you know what? I don't think the Spirit is ruling and reigning in my life. I was just sharing with someone. Any of us know some people who are toxic?
Sure.
I want to raise two hands. And I keep, and I'm struggling. I want to be honest with you. I want you to pray for me Saturday morning. I'm sitting down, taking this guy out for breakfast, and I'm hoping, actually I'm praying, Lord, give us wisdom. I mean, I've been meeting with this guy, and he's so toxic. You know that I've been I was in the Marine Corps. And by the way, I was raised in a family where no one spoke inappropriately. You surely did show respect to parents and people in authority. And so after I came back in the Marine Corps, I was a sergeant major in cussing. I mean, I had learned to swear with the best of them. I'm not going to say that you know what I'm talking about. I'm not asking you if you know what I'm talking about. But I would swear at all sorts of things. I didn't even have to be angry. I would just swear at, it's part of my vocabulary. And so after I became a Christian, the Lord was working on me, but it had become so part of my DNA that I found it difficult to even express myself without swearing. I don't know if you know people like that. It's like, oh my goodness. And so I remember my loving wife would say, honey, I don't know if you know this, but you're speaking in a way that is not good. And I said, what do you mean? And then she would utter words. Oh my goodness. She says, where did that come? She says, that came from your mouth. I'm just echoing. And so then I began to realize, okay. So it took me a while. I wanted to take me a while. The Lord says, man, we got some work in this area, friend. We're going to have to eradicate this. And sure enough, stage one was I got pretty good at not verbalizing cuss words. But what was still going on? How many know what I'm talking about? In my mind, I was still blankety blank this and blankety blank over there. I wasn't saying it out loud, but was I at peace? No, I was not at peace. And I'd still, by the way, people try to rob my peace all the time, man. I'll be in the car and my grandson goes, I don't say anything, he goes, you're not happy, are you? Oh, but where am I going? Sanctification takes time. Sanctification takes focus. You need to, by the way, I'm not saying you try to correct everything, but I began to slowly, methodic, and this person that I meet with, for not my benefit, for his, I'm meeting, I'm encouraging, I'm trying to do some things with him and for him. And then I realized now, you know what? It's over. And so I'm going to meet with him Saturday. You pray for me, but I'm going to meet with him Saturday. I'm going to say, listen, and I'm going to do it graciously. I'm going to say, listen, things have happened. We're going to start a school preaching, and I'm just not going to be able to meet with you anymore. I hope you're not offended by it. And let me be clear. So I will not be responding to your texts, your phone calls. If you need some help, I'm going to have so-and-so help you. I can't deal with this person anymore. And I think it's okay to say at some point after you've kind of been there a while and talk to somebody and your coach, listen, I need your help. I need you to be a little bit more filtered when you talk to me because I come from a history where you really can put me back to a place I don't want to be. Amen. I said that gently in many ways, and still this person continues. It even got worse this last time we met for breakfast. He was talking about things so, dare I say, inappropriate. I don't know if you've ever had conversations with people when they begin talking to you in such a way, you're going like, are you serious? You're going to talk to me this way? And I don't mean like me, I'm important, but those kind of private things you're going to say publicly? No. Oh, wait a minute. The peace of God has sent the Prince of Peace to give us the Spirit of peace, to make us instruments of peace. Isn't that good? I like that. Well, just want to make sure you saw that. And having made peace through the blood of his cross by him to reconcile all things to himself, I say whether they be in earth or in the heavens. Colossians 1:20, King James Version. What am I saying? I think we need to understand that this peace that we want, at least I hope that you want peace. I don't know about you. I'm at a point in my life where I don't want trauma. I mean, life is filled with trauma, and so therefore, especially in my family, I just would like peace. No more, the drama and the crying and the carrying on and like, oh my, and where am I going? I'm saying, hey, it has to be through what Christ has done for us. And what that means is, that, dare I say this, it means forgiving people. This is not about getting even. This is not about calculating. That's number 27. For those of us who keep track of things, like, wow, this person, how many times do I have to talk to this thing back? I mean, I've already said this to him, I don't know how many. Do you see what I'm saying? No, it comes to a place to say, you know what? They're not gonna rob me of peace. They're not. And it's not like a tit for tat. I mean, I don't know if you've lived there, but the devil will remind you, there she goes again. There she goes again. Now, I've been married for 45 plus years. I came from a family of 7 children. My wife came from a family of 7 children. We had different philosophies about the bathroom. Her philosophy was, if the shower's open, you're in there. If somebody needs to go to the bathroom, they're there. If somebody needs to be in the sink, they're there. Now, my philosophy was, no, excuse me. There is an occupant. I'm not into sharing the bathroom. I mean, there are private moments that I want to just be by myself.